I'm Iyanu. I'm a Nigerian, Irish, and Canadian artist, multidisciplinary artist. I mostly do illustrations, but I kind of dabble in everything. So my work kind of explores the cultural aspect of who I am. So I am Nigerian, just by being born, but I didn't grow up in Nigeria. I moved around a lot as a kid, so the only thing that kind of was consistent was the fact that I was traveling with my sister, and like majority of the places that we moved to, we spoke English. So the only language that was like consistent was English. Given that, every time I wanted to learn a language, not even just like my mother tongue, I kind of had to outsource that information. So like Duolingo and like the internet, and like the main way that I did that was through like sticky notes, which is, if you see the illustration that I had, it ties in with that. But a lot of the like difficulty that I had learning my own language was kind of shown through one of the pieces that I have in this exhibit. So I have three things that are in the exhibit. The first thing, which is like the main thing, is the illustration. So it's a digital illustration that kind of explores the learning component of it. So like what it was like to learn the language. I also have a manual and a talking drum, or a dundun. So it's kind of an interactive piece. That part, those two pieces kind of explore the like teaching portion of it. So it's me trying to teach you how to pronounce like words and like things like that in a way that's like doesn't include another person. The main thing about the language and communication of it all is kind of just like learning or like teaching a language without being around people who are speaking or like teaching that language. So the illustration is of a schoolgirl, and she has like sticky notes all over her, because like the one of the main ways that I learned the language was I would find out what the words were. I would write it down on like everything on sticky notes and put them on everything that I would use regularly. So if there was a window, I would write window in the language that I was learning and like stick it on my window. I did with everything. So my room was like consistently filled with sticky notes of whatever language it was that I was choosing to learn that year. So the girl kind of has sticky notes all over her. That's just like exploring like what it was like for me to learn it. The manual is to teach how to say that, because I know a lot of the words in the language and I'm not confident enough to speak it, and the main reason is because I don't think that I'm pronouncing things properly. So the manual kind of is showing you how to pronounce things properly with the talking drum. So the talking drum, Yoruba is a very musical language. So the tones that we have only three tones when it comes to like how we speak. So technically it would be do re mi, but it's like on the drum, so it sounds different than like the English do re mi. So the manual kind of teaches you like if a word is written with like a specific accent, what that would sound like on the drum. So it's teaching you how to pronounce words with the drum. So the piece is like all of them tied together is like an interactive piece that's kind of like telling you my experience and then trying to like make it a little bit better for whoever else wants to learn how to speak. That drum I got from Nigeria. So it's a traditional drum. It's made, all of them are kind of made the same way, at least in Yoruba land. So they have a very specific way of like making the drum, like how much you have to stretch things. A lot of it is made from a specific animal, so it's like goats and cows. So the drum was commissioned in Nigeria, so I had someone in Nigeria make that for me. Could not make it myself, it wouldn't work. So they kind of did that. They made the stick for me and then just like tied it in with the project. So it's made of a lot of things. It's made of like calf skin. It's like they have like intestines on it, like for the stick part of it. There's like a lot of, I couldn't do it even if I wanted to. So yeah. For the talking drum, I feel like even a lot of people who are Nigerian and like have seen the talking drum being used or have used it themselves don't really realize why it's called a talking drum. because it was used to speak, like to send like secret messages and things like that. So like even at weddings, sometimes people put on like a play where they're just like, there's like two people and they're playing the drum, and like one person's playing it, the other person's responding to it. And I feel like a lot of people just like listen to it like it's music, and there's very few people, at least now, that kind of see it as like, oh, it's like a play, like it's a love story kind of thing, because they don't realize that the talking drum is like, talking is like the key word. Even I didn't know that. It wasn't until I was when I was doing the illustration, I was writing the words on the sticky notes, and I was like trying to figure out what the accents were, because the accent changes not just the sound, it changes the meaning of the word too. Like a lot of people who saw my illustration were like, oh, why does it say Lagos? But like if the accent on the E was different, it would be like a location of a city in Lagos, but because it's not, the accent's facing another way, it means to learn. So the accents are really important. So I was asking my mom about like which way the accents are supposed to go, just so I have everything accurate. And then she was like, oh, you could just use the drum and like see which sounds right, and then like put it on, and I'll like double check it. And I was like, I don't know what that means. What do you mean use the drum? I think a lot of people also grew up with the drum in their house and just like didn't realize why it was there. I kind of saw it as just like a decoration. Like I grew up around it, I just never really played it. But yeah. So I had done the illustration because originally it was just supposed to be about like what it was like trying to learn the language without there being anyone there who like was formally teaching it to me. I feel like a lot of Nigerian kids can like understand but not speak, at least if they grew up outside of Nigeria, which I did. So like I'm not literate, and I feel like a lot of my generation isn't literate. So like we can understand, some people can speak, but like very few people can like read and write. So I wanted to make sure that everything was like accurate, because I didn't want someone who was literate to come and be like, this doesn't make sense, just because I missed like one of the accents. So I went to her to ask if everything was accurate. She changed everything and was like, oh, I feel like it's not, like the accents are probably like the easiest part of the word. Like I don't know how you knew how to say like backpack and you don't know like which way the accents were. And then she like brought out the drum, because apparently everyone has a talking drum in their house. I like went to so many people's places and like so many of them have the talking drum. But yeah, so then they taught me like the 3 notes, and then I did like research on my own for the notes, just because I couldn't, like the difference is very, like you have to listen very closely, I feel like, to hear the difference. So like even the way they were teaching was kind of like they had already known how to use it, so it's kind of hard to teach someone something that you didn't really learn, like you kind of just know it. And I did not know it. So learning the drum was kind of just like, I don't even know, it was like, it's like the main thing now, just because the fact that I understand the language and like probably could speak it, but I'm like not confident enough to speak it. That's like the only reason I'm not comfortable enough to speak it, is because I don't think I would say the accents properly. I wouldn't pronounce things properly or anything like that. So like having this, even I probably will use it. She helped me with that, just like with editing it and everything. And then she like kept it to herself, because she's like, I kind of want you to figure it out yourself. So she did the edits. She left it, like she kept it in like a Google Doc, and then she gave me my dad's drum and was like, you can figure it out. And honestly, I think I did pretty good. There were like 2 words that were incorrect, but yeah, the drum is very, very helpful. So the fact that I was able to figure out how to write with the drum, I was like, okay, that could be like a really important part to include, because it's not just about like the experience. Because my experience, I feel like it wasn't negative. It wasn't very negative. It just wasn't really positive, because I had to do so much to figure out something that I feel like didn't need to be as hard. So I'm like, this could be something that could be online. It is online. It's just like hard to find things if you don't know what to look for. And I don't think anyone's like really like, oh, I don't know how to pronounce this word, let me search up if there's an instrument that could teach me how to learn this word. I don't think anyone's really looking that up. But the fact that it's there, I feel like is really interesting. And the fact that I just had no idea. Like I've heard people say that Yoruba is a very musical language. I just didn't know that it actually had like instruments that could speak the language. So yeah. So the intention was just for people to like explore it. I know no one's gonna pick up the manual and the drum and just like be fluent in Yoruba, or like it's not really even teaching you the language, it's just teaching you the tonations. But just for people to like explore it, learn something new that they didn't know about it before. Because I feel like a lot of languages are really interesting. Their history is really interesting. Like there's so much to it other than just like, oh, it's a way of like communicating. Like it is, but there's like a lot more that goes into it. So I feel like even when people find something interesting about a language or like a culture, you're more inclined to learn more about it. So like my intention was kind of just to have people not just know that there's like something interesting about it, but have them like look at it and be like, oh, this is interesting, I want to know more about that. Or like, just even if it's just to explore like the one piece that's there, I feel like that's something more than people not even knowing that the language exists. Yeah, so like we have so many tribes, so like we have like 300 different languages in our one country. So when people are like, oh, you're Nigerian, there's people who know that there's different languages in the country, but there's also people who are like, oh, do you speak Nigerian? And I'm like, not a language, but like, how would you know that? And like, this is something that would show you that, like, it's one of the like many languages that we have, and I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, great. Were you here for the opening reception?
Yeah, I was.
Afterwards, when we were closing up, actually, one of the custodians saw the talking drum and started to play it.
Oh,
so
nice.
I found it interesting that you said, I don't think anyone's going to pick up the talking drum and start playing, but it was...
I saw people doing that during the thing.
Yeah, because that's the intention, is for you to pick it up and play it. If they weren't going to pick it up and play it, if it was just a decoration, I honestly would have just like, I don't know, put like a picture or something. But like it's an instrument that it's there for you to play it, and I want people to play it. That's why there's a manual there for it. The manual has like the history. It has like the history of the talking drum. It has like the anatomy of it. Like it has I illustrated the drum and then like labeled it and everything. And then it also has like the way you have to hold the drum to like say the different notes, things like that. So it's like, if you want to learn how to play it, I think the manual will teach you how to play it, and that's kind of the point, is for it to be interactive, because I don't know, language is interactive, so it's like, it's kind of the point. But yeah, I hope people pick it up and play it. That would be the purpose.